Welcome to Zoe Crossdressing. I never imagined my life would veer this sharply off course. Not even as a joke. If someone had told me a week ago that I'd be frozen in front of a mirror, seriously weighing nude lipstick against a bold crimson, I would have chuckled in disbelief, the uncomfortable kind that means, you've got the wrong person. Yet there I was, studying my reflection. The face staring back at me looked unfamiliar, but not entirely wrong. The eyes held doubt, sure, but also curiosity. Maybe even recognition. As if this version of me had been waiting quietly in the background all along. My name is Ethan Carter. I'm 25, working as a junior marketing analyst at a mid-sized tech company in downtown Chicago. My days were predictable to the point of numbness. Emails. Metrics. Meetings where everyone nodded like they cared about last quarter's performance. I wasn't exceptional, but I was reliable. The kind of employee people forget to notice because nothing ever goes wrong. That invisibility wasn't limited to work. It seeped into my personal life too, especially my relationship. Lana and I had been together for 2 years. We met during a college internship, back when everything felt possible. She was magnetic, confident, expressive, always dressed like she belonged somewhere important. She spoke as if every sentence deserved an audience. I was the opposite. Reserved. Observant. The guy content to watch from the sidelines. Somehow, she chose me. For a while, that felt unreal. Like winning something I didn't enter. But slowly, something dulled. Or maybe it had always been that way, and I was only just noticing. Dinner became silent. Her attention stayed glued to her phone while I searched for something, anything, to say. We stopped being partners and became cohabitants, sharing space but not connection. We never argued. Which somehow felt worse. No fights meant no honesty. I wondered, quietly, if she still liked the person I was, or if she ever truly had. I kept those thoughts buried. Pretended everything was fine. Told myself she was busy, overwhelmed, tired. I lied because the truth scared me. Because losing her felt like losing the last proof that I mattered. And while I was stuck in that slow unraveling, he walked back into my life. Jason. My best friend since middle school. The kind of guy who always landed on his feet. Confident. Tall. Effortlessly charming. Success followed him like a habit. Jason could talk his way into exclusive parties or out of serious trouble with the same grin. We hadn't hung out in months, careers, schedules, the usual excuses. But the moment he showed up again, it felt like the universe had nudged something loose. And I had no idea yet just how much he was about to change everything. Then, without warning, my phone rang last night. Jason said, using the nickname only he ever got away with. His tone was calm but carried an edge I didn't recognize. I need a favor. The kind that could blow up my entire reputation if it goes wrong. I laughed on instinct, but my gut tightened. That sounds ominous. What kind of favor? There was a brief pause, just long enough to make me uneasy. I need you to act like you're my fiancé. The silence that followed felt heavy. I waited for the punchline. It never came. Jason, I said carefully, are you wasted? No, he replied immediately. I'm completely serious. He explained fast, like he was afraid I'd interrupt. A corporate retreat. A massive client. An old-school CEO with rigid ideas about image and stability. Apparently, single men with charm were liabilities. Engaged men were trustworthy. So I told them I'm engaged, he said. Now they want to meet her. I swallowed. And you thought, me? Of course I did. His confidence was almost unsettling. You're about my build. We've known each other forever. I trust you. And with a little polish, he hesitated, then added, you'd be believable. More than believable. My grip tightened on the phone. Jason, I don't do attention. I don't do pretending. I've never even, what makes you think I could pull something like that off? He exhaled slowly. Because you're observant. Because you're thoughtful. Because you know how to read a room instead of dominating it. And because I've seen sides of you that you pretend don't exist. That stopped me cold. No one had said anything like that to me in years. Not Lana. Not coworkers. Not even myself. I didn't agree. But I didn't shut him down either. That night, I lay awake while Lana slept beside me, turned away as usual. Her breathing was steady, distant. We hadn't touched in days, maybe longer. I tried to remember the last time someone looked at me with interest instead of habit. Jason's voice echoed in my head, I've seen you. The realization unsettled me. And, disturbingly, it sparked something I hadn't felt in a long time. This morning, Lana left early for a yoga getaway with friends. The apartment felt hollow after the door closed. That's when Jason dropped by briefly, leaving a garment bag and a box on the table. No speech. Just a look that said, think about it. I sat in front of the mirror long after he left. Inside the bag were clothes, makeup, heels, a carefully styled wig, everything chosen with unsettling precision. My size. My proportions. No guessing. I unpacked it slowly, half expecting my nerves to snap. The dress caught my breath, red, smooth, tasteful but daring in a way that felt intentional. My face warmed, and I didn't immediately look away. I told myself this was practical. Temporary. A role. Still, curiosity hummed beneath my skin. Now I'm standing alone in the quiet apartment, still dressed in jeans and a worn t-shirt, staring at the bed where the dress lies waiting. Jason's words won't leave me alone. You'd surprise yourself. Sunlight spills through the blinds, striping the room in gold. My pulse thunders louder than it should. Something is shifting, slowly, irreversibly, and I don't yet know whether to fight it or step forward. The apartment felt hollow, broken only by the tired clank of the radiator struggling against the cold. Jason's bag lay unzipped on the floor like it had been waiting for him to make a decision. Inside, neatly folded stockings, a pair of heels, a wig resting on a foam stand, a padded black bra, a small clutch stuffed with makeup, and a folded note. Trust the process. One step at a time. J. Ethan exhaled slowly, his throat tight. One step, he murmured to no one. He reached for the bra first. It was heavier than he expected, the padding solid in his hands, almost unsettling in how deliberate it felt. Slipping it on was awkward, fumbling straps, uneven adjustments, but once it settled against his chest, the effect was immediate. Weight where there hadn't been any before. Shape where there'd only been angles. He faced the mirror. It still felt wrong. Artificial. And yet, something was already different. His slim torso appeared softer, his posture subtly altered. The sharpness he'd always associated with his body seemed muted. Even his unshaven face, tired as it was, didn't look entirely out of place. He sat on the edge of the bed to pull on the stockings, hands shaking as he rolled the fabric upward. They hugged his legs, smooth and close, sending an unexpected shiver through him. A breathy laugh escaped his lips. This was ridiculous. He knew that. A grown man playing dress-up to sell a corporate fantasy. And still, it didn't feel like a joke. The lace panties followed, scarlet and delicate. His legs looked different now, cleaner, unfamiliar. He'd shaved them the night before at Jason's insistence. At the time it had felt like a strange, private ceremony, something done behind locked doors, unseen. Standing there now, the meaning felt heavier. Then came the dress. He hesitated before picking it up. Red. Elegant. Designed to command attention without shouting for it. Sleeveless, cinched at the waist, cut low enough to feel daring. He stepped into it carefully, drawing it up inch by inch. The fabric slid over his skin, cool and unforgiving, shaping him whether he was ready or not. Zipping it was a struggle. His arms twisted awkwardly behind him until the zipper finally closed with a quiet click. He froze, breath shallow, pulse racing. When he turned back to the mirror, the sight made him pause. It wasn't flawless. His face was still unmistakably Ethan. His hair, too short, too plain, betrayed the illusion. But his stance had changed. The way the dress curved along his body, the faint movement of the skirt when he shifted his weight, it all told a different story. He looked unfamiliar. His gaze drifted to the wig. Dark brown, shoulder length, impossibly soft. He lifted it gently, settling it onto his head and adjusting it with careful hands. A few pins. A slight tease at the crown. The transformation snapped into focus. The person in the mirror wasn't Ethan anymore. Not entirely. She didn't have a name yet, but she existed. Watching. Waiting. He stepped back, then glanced down at the final test, the heels. Glossy black. 3 inches tall, modest by some standards, but towering for someone who had never worn heels in his life. His heart hammered as he reached for them. The first step nearly sent him crashing to the floor. His ankle rolled, his balance faltered. The second step sent a sharp protest up his foot. By the third, he was laughing, an honest, startled sound that caught him off guard. Pain mixed with wonder. He pressed a hand to the wall and kept going, heel tapping against the floor in uneven clicks. As he moved, something unexpected happened. His hips shifted on their own, not out of performance, but necessity. The shoes demanded a different rhythm. He made it as far as the kitchen. Opened the fridge. Let out another laugh. "Anything to drink, Miss Carter," he murmured, pitching his voice higher. He stopped cold. That voice, awkward, sure, but not terrible. Softer. Lighter. He tried again, more deliberate this time. "I'm Jason's fiancée. It's nice to see you." The words landed, and so did the name. Rachel. He didn't plan it. It just appeared, fully formed. Rachel. His pulse jumped. The name felt dangerous. And right. A nervous flutter spread through his chest, tangled with something warmer he refused to label. He turned toward the hallway mirror. Straightened his posture. Smoothed the dress at his waist. Tucked the wig behind one ear. She wasn't finished yet, but the framework existed. He was assembling her, piece by piece. Then the doorknob rattled. Ethan jerked backward, panic flooding his chest. His breath locked. "Lana?" A second passed. Then another. "Wind." He sagged with relief, lungs finally pulling in air. The spell shattered. He retreated to the bedroom and collapsed onto the bed, heels slipping off as he went. His face disappeared into his hands. What am I doing? This was meant to be temporary. A single weekend. A ridiculous favor. Fabric and makeup and borrowed confidence. But the memory of the dress against his skin, the sound of that voice, the name Rachel, they lingered. And they didn't want to leave. He stood again later, facing the mirror once more, fully transformed now. The makeup had taken nearly an hour. It wasn't flawless. One eye showed a faint smudge of liner. The lipstick strayed just a little at the corners. Still, for a first attempt, the result startled him. He didn't look like Ethan. He looked like her. He adjusted the wig carefully, smoothing it into place, then ran his palms down the sides of the dress. The heels went back on, still treacherous, but survivable if he moved with patience. Grace through caution. His hands shook as he lifted the pearl earrings Jason had packed. He clipped them on slowly, one ear at a time. Then came the knock. His whole body flinched. A sharp twist of movement nearly sent him off balance. He's here. No, Ethan isn't. Rachel crossed the living room with measured steps, heart pounding so loudly it drowned out everything else. She paused at the door, steadying herself. One breath in. One out. Her voice dropped, calm and composed. She turned the knob. Jason stood in the hallway, coffee in hand, blazer thrown on casually. His confident grin vanished the instant he saw her. His eyes widened. He blinked, once, twice, like his brain needed a reset. And for the first time since this began, Ethan realized something irreversible had just happened. Jason's mouth opened, then closed again. The pause stretched long enough to feel awkward before he finally breathed out, "Wow." Rachel tilted her head. "That bad?" "No," he stepped forward, clearly startled. "I mean, wow. You actually went through with it." She folded her arms, trying to hide the nervous energy buzzing through her. "You're the one who said to trust the process." He moved inside the apartment, letting the door shut behind him, his gaze drifting over her in slow disbelief. It wasn't leering. It was more like his brain was recalibrating. "You look incredible," he said quietly. "I honestly didn't think you'd take it this far." Rachel let out a soft, uneasy laugh. "Believe me, neither did I." Jason walked a slow circle around her, like he was examining something he couldn't quite explain. "The dress fits like it was tailored. And those heels, yeah, they work. And he gestured vaguely toward her chest and stopped himself. "Okay, wow. That padding is convincing." She shot him a look. "Careful." "Sorry," he said quickly, palms up. "That came out wrong. I'm just stunned." Rachel turned toward the mirror again, studying herself. "That's the strange part. I thought I'd feel like I was wearing a costume. Like I'd be hyper-aware every second." She swallowed. "But it doesn't feel like pretending anymore." Jason stepped up beside her. Their reflections filled the glass, his solid frame next to her softer silhouette. The contrast was undeniable. "You pulled this off," he said under his breath. "You could walk into that retreat tomorrow and no one would question it." She searched his eyes in the mirror. "You're sure they won't see through me?" He smiled, confident. "Not a chance." Silence settled between them, dense, uncomfortable, electric. Jason cleared his throat and turned toward the kitchen. "Okay. Logistics. Let's lock in the story." Rachel followed, easing herself onto a bar stool and crossing her legs the way she'd practiced earlier. It felt oddly natural now. Jason handed her a tablet. "CEO's name is Grant Wilkins," he said. "Very traditional. Big on image, stability, the whole family values thing. We've been engaged 6 months. You're a freelance event planner, means you're social, adaptable, and know how to manage egos." Rachel scrolled through the screen. "So I'm not just dressing the part," she said. "I'm inventing an entire life." Jason grinned. "Exactly." Photos filled the tablet, corporate dinners, executive bios with names, faces. A survival guide for the weekend ahead. Jason leaned back, watching her a second longer than necessary. "What?" she asked, without looking up. He shook his head. "It's just strange seeing you like this." She glanced down at herself. "You're telling me?" "No," he said slowly. "I mean," he hesitated. "You look beautiful. Not just convincing. Actually beautiful. If I didn't already know you." "Jason." Her tone cut through the air. He looked down immediately. "Sorry. I didn't mean to cross a line." But the damage was already done. Because something had shifted. Somewhere between the imperfect eyeliner and the false lashes, Rachel had begun to feel something dangerous. And the way Jason was looking at her now, it wasn't casual. It wasn't friendly. It was focused. Real. Terrifying. She stood abruptly. I need to fix my lipstick. Jason nodded too fast. Yeah, sure. I'll, review the talking points. She retreated into the bathroom and closed the door behind her. Alone, she gripped the edge of the sink, staring at her reflection as her heart hammered against her ribs. This was no longer just a favor. Heat crept up her neck as she studied her reflection. Crimson lips parted slightly. Color bloomed across her cheeks. The wig sat just a touch crooked, but she barely noticed. A strange thought surfaced, uninvited but insistent. Is this what power feels like? Is this what it means to be noticed? She didn't have an answer, but she knew one thing for certain. She wasn't ready to peel the dress away. Not yet. When Rachel looked again, something subtle had shifted. It wasn't the makeup. It wasn't the hair or the fabric hugging her body. It was her gaze. Steady. Assured. Alive. Confidence stared back at her. It felt like she'd stumbled onto a hidden frequency, one she'd never tuned into before. Now it hummed through her veins, settling into her posture, shaping the way she breathed, the way she moved. She adjusted the strap of her dress, tilted her head, and let a small, unforced smile bloom. From the couch, Jason watched with a single eyebrow arched. Okay, he said, applauding slowly. That right there? Dangerous. Rachel turned toward him, amused. What, too much? Way too much, he replied. You're about to steal my spotlight. She laughed, and even that surprised her. The sound floated out naturally, lighter than she remembered it ever being. She crossed the room toward him, letting her hips move just a fraction more than necessary. You told me to make it believable. Jason rose to his feet, still taller than her, still unmistakably himself. Yeah, but now you're overshooting the mark, he said, half smiling. I almost forget it's you in there. Her smile flickered. He caught it immediately. Hey, no, I didn't mean that the wrong way. It's fine, she said quickly, waving it off. I know what you meant. She hesitated. It's just strange, right? If I can do this, if it feels this natural, what does that say about me? Jason didn't answer right away. Rachel glanced down at her hands. Her nails gleamed in soft nude pink, neat and elegant. She turned them slowly, as if seeing them for the first time. I've spent my whole life trying to disappear, she said quietly. And now I put on heels and makeup, and suddenly I feel strong. Like people would actually notice if I walked into a room. Jason stepped closer. That's because they would. She lifted her eyes to his, breath hitching. I'm serious, he said, voice lower now. You've always kept yourself small. Careful. But like this? He gestured vaguely. It's like something finally woke up. Rachel looked away, suddenly unsure. Maybe it's just nerves. Or adrenaline. Maybe, he said. Then, softer, or maybe it's just you, without the brakes on. The quiet that followed felt charged, humming with everything neither of them wanted to say out loud. Jason broke it with a sharp clap. All right. Back to training. Let's fix your walk. Rachel groaned, though she couldn't hide her grin. You just enjoy watching me fight with gravity. Absolutely, he said, flashing a wink. They spent the next hour refining every detail, how she stood, where her hands rested, how her head angled when she smiled. When to meet someone's eyes. When to soften her expression. When to let silence do the work. And with each adjustment, Rachel felt herself settling more fully into place, less like someone pretending, and more like someone finally arriving. Jason turned out to be far more perceptive than she'd expected, like someone who'd been paying attention for years without ever admitting it. His guidance was never harsh, never embarrassing, just precise. Drop your shoulders, he'd say calmly. Let them settle. Slow it down. Don't rush the step. Lead with the hips, not the legs. Say it again, but quieter. Like it's meant just for me. Each time Rachel got it right, he'd look at her in a way that sent a nervous flutter through her chest. It wasn't just approval. It was interest. Recognition. Something warmer. That realization unsettled her more than the heels ever had. At one point she lost her balance, stumbling just enough to break her focus. Jason reacted instantly, hands finding her waist to steady her. For a heartbeat, neither of them moved. His grip lingered a fraction longer than necessary. "Thanks," she murmured, suddenly aware of how little space separated them. Jason looked at her, really looked. His gaze dropped briefly to her mouth before he caught himself and stepped back. "Right," he said quickly. Let's take 5. Rachel nodded, grateful for the pause, and sank onto the couch. She crossed her legs carefully, smoothing her skirt with a small, practiced motion that surprised even her. Jason retreated to the kitchen, fussing with nothing in particular. The air between them felt charged, like static waiting for a spark. This wasn't how it was supposed to go. The plan had been simple. Dress up. Play a role. Get through the weekend. Then return to being Ethan, quiet, unremarkable, easy to overlook. But Rachel felt vivid in a way Ethan never had. Present. Awake. And the idea of putting her away when it was over filled her with a quiet dread. Jason returned holding 2 mugs. "Thought you might want something warm." She accepted one, their fingers brushing lightly. She stared into the steam, avoiding his eyes. "Jason?" "Yeah?" She hesitated, then let the question slip out. "Do you think I'm disappearing into this?" He didn't answer immediately. When he did, his voice was careful, thoughtful. "I think you might just be uncovering something that's always been there." Her vision blurred before she could stop it. Jason noticed but didn't comment. Instead, he sat down beside her, closer than before, close enough to feel his presence. They didn't speak again for a long while. Yet in the silence, something unmistakable passed between them. A shift. A shared awareness. A truth hovering just out of reach. Rachel had just finished touching up her lipstick when her phone vibrated in her hand. Her eyes dropped to the screen, and everything inside her went cold. "Lana, hey babe." "Left early. Skipping the last session. I'll be home in about 20. Time seemed to fracture. "No," she breathed. "No, no, no." Jason looked up from the table, where he'd been practicing elegant, looping signatures on blank cards. "What happened?" Rachel turned the phone toward him. The color drained from his face. "She's not supposed to be back until tomorrow." Rachel shot to her feet, heels wobbling dangerously. "I have to change. Now." Jason was already moving. "Bathroom. Go. I'll grab the wipes and pack everything." Adrenaline surged through her as she rushed down the hall. She locked herself in the bathroom and froze when she saw her reflection. She looked flawless. Hair smooth. Dress hugging her perfectly. Makeup polished. Confident. Radiant. A woman. A woman who couldn't exist right now. Panic took over. She scrubbed at her mouth, smearing crimson across white tissue. Lashes came off in a rush. The wig followed, tossed aside as damp, short hair sprang free. She yanked off the bra, the padding hitting the tile with a dull sound. The dress slid down her legs in a pool of red. When she finally looked up again, Ethan stared back at her, mostly. Mascara shadowed his eyes. Color still burned in his cheeks. Something of Rachel lingered stubbornly in the mirror, like a ghost refusing to leave. A knock sounded at the door, quick and tense. "She's pulling into the garage," Jason whispered through the wood. Ethan's stomach twisted. "Say I'm sick. Anything." There was a pause. You sure you don't want to tell her? Ethan met his own reflection, hands shaking as he wiped away the last traces of makeup. Not like this. Jason didn't argue. Footsteps retreated. Ethan pulled on sweatpants, a hoodie, and a baseball cap, shoving the heels under the bed and cramming the duffel into the closet just as the front door opened. Babe? Lana called out, cheerful as ever. Ethan stepped into the hallway, forcing a cough that scraped his throat. Hey. She stopped short, studying him. You okay? Not really, he croaked. Think I caught something. Been out all day. She frowned and pressed a hand to his forehead. You're burning up. He managed a weak smile. Yeah. Fever hit hard. Her gaze lingered a second too long, then she leaned in, kissed his cheek, and stepped back. Maybe I should stay somewhere else. I don't want to catch it. No, he said quickly. I'll take the spare room. She nodded and walked into the kitchen. Ethan followed, and froze. On the counter sat a mug. Lipstick stained the rim. He lunged forward just as Lana reached for it. Too late. She paused, staring at the mark. Then she slowly turned to him. This yours? His heart slammed against his ribs. Jason stopped by earlier. It's his girlfriend's. She forgot it. Lana raised an eyebrow. Jason has a girlfriend now? Yeah, Ethan said, too fast. I mean, kind of. She studied him, unreadable. And somewhere deep inside, the echo of Rachel stirred, terrified, exposed, and very much not gone. She glanced at the mug on the counter again, and something inside her stirred. Huh. Didn't think he was the sentimental type. Ethan forced a laugh. Neither did I. Lana placed the cup in the sink, stretched, and yawned. I'm going to shower. Okay. As the bathroom door closed behind her, Ethan let out a long, trembling exhale. That had been far too close. Far, far too close. He sank onto the couch, pressing a hand to his forehead, trying to steady the tremor running through his body. Not fear, something sharper, wilder. Adrenaline still hummed through his veins, tingling under his skin. For the briefest, most insane moment, he realized he missed it. He missed the dress. The heels. The wig. The way Jason had looked at him when he was her. He missed being Rachel. And though he didn't want to admit it, he didn't want it to end. The days after Lana returned passed in a blur of routine. Ethan cooked breakfast, answered emails, made tea, listened to Lana chatter about her business meetings, but he was only half present. Every mirror reminded him of what he'd lost. Rachel's absence tugged at him like a missing limb. The wig lay buried under socks. Dresses zipped away. Heels shoved to the back of the closet. Yet every time he passed them, they whispered at him, a phantom of another life. He caught himself in the sink once, lifting a hand as if to apply lipstick that wasn't there. Another day, brushing his teeth, he reached for a foundation brush out of pure habit. He wasn't pretending anymore. He missed her. He missed being called beautiful. The silky weight of the earrings. The way the dress had clung to him. The way Jason had looked at him, as though he were more than a joke, more than a game. He missed being seen. 3 nights after Lana returned, Ethan stood in the bathroom alone, staring at the mirror. No makeup. No wig. Just shadows under tired eyes. He traced his jawline with a finger. Smooth. He hadn't shaved out of necessity, just precaution, in case Rachel ever needed to exist again. The bathroom door creaked. Ethan. He looked up. Lana stood there, arms crossed, posture familiar and accusing. Her eyes were sharp. Are you cheating on me? What? You've been distant. Barely touching me. And I found the receipt from the wig store, and that perfume. That isn't yours. His stomach dropped. She didn't stop. I saw the shaving cream. The pink one. The lashes in the trash. You've been lying to me. Lana, it's not, the words choked in his throat. Then what is it, she pressed, frustration and hurt threading her voice. He stared at her, unable to speak. How could he explain that in pretending to be someone else, he had finally discovered himself? You can't even say it, she whispered. I'm sorry, he managed. Tears pricked her eyes. We were supposed to get married. I don't know who I am anymore, she said softly. Neither did he. The door clicked shut behind her. That night, Jason called. Hey. Ethan didn't answer. I heard about Lana. I'm sorry. Silence. Do you want to talk? Ethan closed his eyes. I don't even know what to say. Then just listen, Jason said calmly. I meant what I said at the retreat. About you. Not Rachel, you. That's who I saw. Ethan opened his eyes. You weren't pretending, Jason continued. Not really, he admitted. At first, maybe. But by the end, you were her. You were glowing. I was terrified, Ethan whispered. I know. But you weren't ashamed. That's what mattered. Jason's voice dropped to a soft, almost intimate whisper. Come over. Please. Ethan didn't pack a bag. He didn't need to. He just grabbed the red dress. When Jason opened the door, he stood there in jeans and a t-shirt, eyes scanning Ethan's face like he was deciphering a lost language. I brought her, Ethan said softly, holding up the garment bag. Jason stepped aside. The apartment smelled of lavender and candles. Ethan went straight to the bathroom, changed, and transformed. Wig, lashes, bra, lipstick, the familiar rhythm settling over him. The red dress slid over his skin like it had been waiting, eager to be worn again. He emerged. Heels clicking on the hardwood. Jason's breath hitched. Rachel stood there, radiant and alive. They didn't speak. Not for long minutes. Then Jason stepped forward, hand lifting to her cheek. You're breathtaking. Rachel smiled, a tremble in it. I'm terrified, she admitted. You don't have to be, he said softly. Rachel's lip quivered. What if I don't know where this ends? Jason leaned closer, his hand brushing hers. Then we write the ending together. And with that, he kissed her. Not as part of a game. Not for a lie. Not for a weekend charade. This time, it was real. A week later, Lana came to collect her things. She moved in silence, folding clothes, stacking boxes, her expression unreadable. Ethan helped carry the heavier ones. She paused at the doorway, turning to him. Be honest with the next person, she said quietly. I will, he whispered. She nodded once and left. The door clicked shut. Rachel didn't linger on the past. She took a marketing job Jason helped her land. People assumed they were just friends. No one questioned her voice. No one mocked her heels. She was herself, completely, unapologetically. Jason slipped his hand into hers as they walked into the office together. A coworker looked up, smiling. Morning, ma'am. Coffee's fresh. Rachel returned the smile, light and sure. She had never felt more like herself, and she wasn't letting go. Jason's gaze never wavered from her. He saw more than the dress. He saw the way she moved, breathed, existed. I didn't know, he whispered, voice tight. I didn't know this was inside you. Rachel stepped forward, heels clicking softly on the floor, every movement deliberate, graceful, raw. I didn't either, she admitted, voice trembling, both fragile and fierce. But that weekend, it unlocked something. When I was Rachel, I wasn't pretending. I was free. Jason's chest rose and fell fast, like he was struggling for air. "You're serious?" "I am," she said, tears welling, brimming with power she couldn't hide. "And I need to know, did any of it feel real to you, or was it just a performance?" Jason shook his head, as if trying to clear a fog. I didn't expect to feel anything. But when you walked into that gala, when you smiled, when you laughed, when you danced with me, it felt like something I've never felt before." Rachel closed the space between them. Her perfume, delicate and intoxicating, floated around him, like white blossoms in midnight air. Their eyes met, honest, unguarded, raw. "Tell me you don't feel it, too," she whispered, barely audible. He didn't answer. He only stepped closer, cupping her face. And just as their lips were about to meet, bang! The front door slammed open. Ethan, Lana, her voice shaking with fury, and behind her, a line of Ethan's co-workers, all dressed for the retreat, all holding luggage, all staring. Rachel froze. Her heart dropped into her stomach. Lana's mouth fell open. "What the hell is this?" Jason stepped forward. "Lana, no. Don't." But her eyes locked on Rachel. "You've been lying to me this whole time. What is this? Some kind of joke?" Rachel stood paralyzed, unable to move, unable to speak. The room felt impossibly small, her chest tight, every heartbeat screaming. The world she had built, the freedom she had tasted, hung in the balance. And for the first time, she realized, the weekend was over, but the consequences were only beginning. But Jason didn't flinch. He stepped in front of Rachel, a steady shield between her and Lana. "This isn't a joke," he said, voice low, unwavering. "Rachel isn't pretending. Not anymore." Lana's scoff cut through the room like glass. "Rachel? That's Ethan. My boyfriend." "No," Rachel whispered, voice fragile, cracking under the weight of truth. "I'm not your boyfriend anymore." Silence fell, thick, icy, suffocating. Then Lana laughed. Hollow. Sharp. Terrible. "So this was it? Some sick little weekend fantasy? You two playing house while I was out working?" Rachel took a small, trembling step forward, pain etched across her face. "I never meant to hurt you. I didn't plan this, but something changed. I changed." "You think makeup and heels make you a woman?" Lana barked, tears glinting in her eyes. "You think you can just erase everything we had?" Rachel looked down at the red heels, then lifted her gaze, stronger, steady. "No. Pretending to be a man erased me." The room fell into stillness, the kind that presses against your chest. Jason looked at her as though seeing her, fully seeing her, for the very first time. Rachel stepped closer to Lana, voice calm but fierce. "You loved the version of me that barely held himself together. That's what you fell for. But this," she gestured to herself, tall and present, "this is who I am now. And I can't go back." Lana recoiled, shaking her head. "You're not the man I fell in love with." Rachel nodded slowly. "You're right. I'm not. Maybe I never was." With deliberate calm, she lifted the engagement ring Lana had once given her and set it gently on the table. "I'm sorry," she said softly. Lana stood frozen, eyes rimmed red, mascara smudged, lips parted in disbelief. Then, finally, she turned and walked out, slamming the door behind her. The other co-workers, caught between shock and awkwardness, quietly followed. The apartment fell silent again. Just Rachel and Jason, breathless, hearts bare. Jason stepped closer, reaching for her hand. "Are you okay?" Rachel wiped at her cheek, unsure. I don't know." "I do," he said firmly. "I know you're brave. I know you're real. And I know I'm falling in love with you. Not in spite of who you are, but because of it." Her eyes widened. "I don't care what name you wore before. What matters is who you are when you look at me like that. Rachel smiled, trembling. Say it again. He drew her close. I'm falling in love with you, Rachel. Her lips parted. Then kiss me. Like you mean it. And he did. No interruptions. No pretense. No lies. Just two people, finally unmasked. One falling, the other already gone. The Monday after the retreat, the city felt louder than usual. But inside Rachel, something had finally stilled. The constant hum of pressure, the anxiety, the fear of slipping up, it was gone. She stood before her mirror, unhurried, unrehearsed. Hair softly curled, makeup natural, precise. A simple pink blouse hugged her frame, tucked neatly into high-waisted jeans that flattered her curves. She smiled, not because she looked like a woman, but because, for the first time, she felt like one. Her phone buzzed. A new message from Jason, brunch still on. Rachel laughed softly. Of course it is. And this time, Rachel said, sliding her purse over her shoulder, I'm choosing the place. Her heels clicked against the wooden floor, not as a performance, not a show, but as a statement. Each step a quiet declaration of who she was. Outside, Jason leaned against his car, arms crossed, grinning like a fool. Wow, he said. She tilted her head, mock serious. While flattering, you're still obsessed with pink. Wow. I'm in trouble, huh, he replied, walking around the car to open her door. They drove in a companionable silence, the kind that wasn't empty, it was filled with comfort. No pretenses. No performances. Just two people learning to exist fully alongside one another. At the cafe patio, Rachel sipped her iced coffee while Jason stole her fries, grinning. They talked about work, friends, life, the world, everything. Lana had left town for a few weeks, and the office had questions, but none of it frightened Rachel like it once had. Jason leaned in, voice low. You want me to go with HR? Help explain? Rachel shook her head. No. I'll do it myself. He nodded, pride shining in his eyes. Later that week, Rachel walked into the office wearing a sleek navy sheath dress and subtle pumps, her pulse quickening with every step. She went straight to her boss's office. He looked up, startled. Ethan? She smiled softly. Not anymore. Silence stretched. Thick. Awkward. But Rachel held her ground. I'm transitioning. I'll be updating my name in the system soon. I'm happy to answer any questions HR might have, but I won't be hiding anymore. Her boss blinked, then leaned back, scratching his beard. Okay, that's it? Rachel nodded. You're good at your job. That's what matters. HR will give you the forms, you'll need to update your ID, your email, but honestly, as long as you keep hitting your targets, wear a tutu if you want. Rachel stared, stunned, then smiled and left, a weight lifting from her chest. She didn't need everyone's approval, just her own. 2 months later, Rachel's apartment had changed too. Brighter, lighter, alive. Curtains thrown wide open. Dresses she adored neatly hung. Lipsticks no longer hidden. A vanity glowed with lights, not for show, but to reflect her, finally, fully. A soft knock. Jason stepped inside, holding a bouquet of white tulips. Is this a date or a proposal? She teased. Neither, he said, smiling. Just a reminder that I'm still hopelessly crazy about you. She kissed him softly, then pulled back. I've got the documents. Jason's brow rose. Really? She nodded, holding up the manila envelope. She opened it carefully, pulling out the letter. Legal name change approved. Rachel Elise Morgan. Jason's breath hitched. Rachel Elise, that's beautiful. She smiled, tears threatening. I chose Rachel because it's the name that finally gave me permission to breathe. He nodded, letting her words settle in, and in that quiet moment, they both knew she wasn't hiding anymore. She was home. And Elise, that was my middle name when I was little. Before I forgot who I was. He took her hand, holding it gently. You remembered? I did, she whispered. Finally. He leaned down, resting his forehead against hers. You're brave. Do you know that? She let out a small, rueful shrug. I'm just tired of being afraid. Hands entwined, they stepped forward together. For the first time, Rachel didn't feel like she was leaving her past behind. She wasn't closing a chapter, she was finally stepping fully, fearlessly, into the life she had always been meant to live.